Last Wednesday, the G.I. Joe team over at Hasbro held a Yo Joe fan stream, in which they revealed loads of new upcoming G.I. Joe classified figures, as well as showed off a few in-hand models of some we've been waiting to come down the pipeline. So let's take a closer look at what's going on with my favourite action figure line right now, G.I. Joe Classified. Hello and welcome everybody, it's Chris here from MoDXtra Games and Collectibles, my little YouTube channel, my creative outlet for the fact that I'm an enormous man-child nerd who keeps filling his house with loads of plastic nostalgic collectible crap and making videos out of it. And right now I have to say that the G.I. Joe Classified line by Hasbro is my absolute toppermost of the poppermost when it comes to action figure lines. I think they are knocking it out the park. It's not without its flaws, but compared to some of the other lines that I've spent collecting over the years, this is just blowing me away. But it feels like it's been a long time since I could be excited about G.I. Joe Classified. Certainly feels like a long time since I've made a review video for the channel, because all the new stuff is just taking its time coming through, and they keep showing us new reveals and making new pre-orders, but they're never delivering them. And like, I've had 3 animated X-Men Marvel Legends figures in the space of time it's taken me to get 1 G.I. Joe Classified figure. But Yo Joe June is on. The fan stream had lots of stuff that got me excited, as well as the fact that there was a few in-hand actual, demonstration, here's a made figure model that got me even more excited. And the stream had a promise of the fact that stuff that's been pre-ordered is now going to start shipping. A promise that's come true, because I've actually had an email delivery notification just today telling me that a pre-ordered G.I. Joe figure is on the way. So keep an eye out on the channel for a review on that. So I'm just going to reinvigorate my excitement, just talk about G.I. Joe on the camera for a little bit and chat about the reveals that we saw on the Yo Joe June fan stream from Hasbro Pulse last week. That's a mouthful. Yeah, and, just get all a little bit excited about it. So join me on this short journey into the thoughts, insights, and first impressions of the true Mr. Six from MoDXtra Games and Collectibles. Yo! Let's get started by talking about the digital render previews that they shared on stream. And one point of note that the team raised at this juncture during the stream was that subsequent G.I. Joe Classified waves from here on in is going to consist of 5 figures. So they had 5 digital renders to show us to get us excited about some upcoming waves. And the first of this reveal was this guy here, FALCON. Now, when they brought this up on screen, initially, watching the stream for the first time, I was a bit like, meh, a bit nonplussed. I was like, well, that's a bit of a mediocre start. Where's your big bolt out of the gate with something shiny and excited to get my juices flowing? But I have to admit that upon closer inspection of the digital render, and upon further reflection since seeing the stream last week, I think this is a good figure to be putting out there, to be fair. Now, the digital render, a couple of things that I noticed as I kind of zoned in on it a bit more. First things first, if the face sculpt on the final figure is as good as what the digital render is selling us, then I'm in. I mean, I know they've been doing some good face sculpt stuff in G.I. Joe Classified up till now anyway, so I've no reason to think that's not going to be the case. But it is a tremendous face sculpt. And then, they are an armed force, the G.I. Joe. I've complained about too much military colours in the past with the line, like I don't know what to expect, but obviously he's an army dude in his camo gear. That's what G.I. Joe folks, sensible G.I. Joe folks do. I mean, not like alley vipers, like, I'm over here. So it kind of works, and it is part of the message. And when it comes to photography and dioramas and shelf displays, then yeah, you're looking for a kind of military style thing. He's going to be a great inclusion in that. Some of the finer detail that appears to be on the figure as well, like the texture of the uniform, the way the camouflage paint is throughout the uniform, the webbing, like the belt buckle. If the paint app on that is as neat and tidy as what's on the digital render, then I'm going to be super happy. I love those finer details like that. His little watch, his G.I. Joe communicator, that's back and that's on his webbing. So I think there's actually a lot of potential for this to be a great figure. And if, like me, you're a big nerd for the 80s G.I. Joe movie, then this is an excellent figure to add to your collection, especially in light of the fact burying the lead, Sergeant Slaughter's coming down the pipeline. So there's a lot of opportunity for some nice diorama and photography work or shelf displays around my fond, nostalgic, warm memories of the film. So while in the moment I was a bit like, it just looks like a bit of a soldier dude, actually, I think Falcon was a good choice, and I can't wait to try and manipulate my figures into a Duke crying over... No, all the way around, a Falcon crying over an injured Duke and, all that. So, Falcon, there we go. I think it's an interesting figure. Not one that hit me in the face like a splash of water, but as I've ruminated on it, I'm quite happy they're bringing it into the line. The next digital render preview that they showed on stream was this guy here, the Barbecue in the Marauder uniform colours. And it is basically the Barbecue that we've seen already, but a repaint with the Marauder uniform colours. Now, I get what they're doing with the line here. I mean, they've got a Sergeant Slaughter coming down the pipeline. They're acknowledging other areas, other patches of kind of G.I. Joe mythology and history. It's also, obviously, very much in line with the way that the original G.I. Joe toys, or in my world, the Action Force figures were released. We used to get these new variants of the figures down the line. So that's all makes sense. I'm not as critical, perhaps, of some of the kind of repaint stuff that's going on. In fact, I'm going to talk quite positively about a repaint in a short while. But this one's a pass for me. I mean, I've not picked up the first Barbecue. It's just not a character that resonates with me. I didn't grow up on G.I. Joe the cartoon, so his, knowing his half the battle little PSAs at the end that he did about fire safety just aren't a thing in my world, in my life. And so I didn't get the original Barbecue. It's unlikely that I'm going to be picking up this Marauder uniform version of the Barbecue. But if you're a big fan of that later era of the G.I. Joe cartoons, and you want to get a Sergeant Slaughter little Marauders thing going on, then this is possibly the figure for you. It's just not for me. The next preview digital render was of a repaint figure we've already had as well. It was this guy here. It was the Crimson Bat. Now, again, my feelings are very much the same as they were with the Barbecue. I get what they're doing. I understand. They even described on screen some of the kind of thought process that they went through with a Crimson Bat. They've got the twins coming down the pipeline, the Crimson Guard coming down the pipeline. So for those who like to army build and make shelf displays that are on a theme, this would be a great addition to that sort of Crimson Guard space there. I get all that. And it is good looking. I mean, that red crimson uniform look on the Bat figure, yeah, it looks good. I'm tempted, with the grey bits sort of framing it up and stuff. It's nice, and the black chest plate with the extra little touches like the serial number and stuff. And I am really happy with my Bat figure. I've got the classic black and yellow look, and it is a great figure. I have had lots of fun. I've played with it loads. I've taken tons of photos with it. It is one that I kind of lean towards when it comes to having a bit of grown man playtime with my action toys. I'm just not so sure when on a budget, and when this is now the third version of a Bat we've got in the line, and there's so many other kind of interesting characters that they could be producing, even though I know it's it is resonant of the ethos of G.I. Joe in these kind of new variants and stuff. I'm just not sure it's one for me. So I'm kind of like, yeah, it's a great figure. I'd highly recommend the Bat. If you missed the black and yellow one the first time around, although I think you can still get them out and about, or the fact that this kind of idea of a Crimson Guard themed display thing appeals to you, then I wouldn't begrudge you it at all. It's an awesome figure, and it is a great colour scheme. I just don't know if on a budget whether I could justify another Bat, especially when I don't army build. So, yeah, good looking, but possibly one I'll pass. Okay, well, I consider this next digital render preview that they brought up on screen a bit controversial. And I think I've got a controversial view on it as well, or a minority view on it. But the next one they brought up was this guy here, the classic look mainline OUTBACK figure with the white survival t-shirt. Now, this is controversial, I think, because a lot of people like me still haven't received their Tiger Force pre-order. So the Tiger Force OUTBACK that I pre-ordered months and months and months ago still hasn't arrived. And so to be showing me the classic look OUTBACK before they've even milked me for the cash out the Tiger Force version, I think was a little bit of a misstep, and perhaps a little bit tone deaf to what's the talk of the community is. However, on the flip side of that, classic look OUTBACK when the Tiger Force was announced, I saw loads of people going, "Oh, I really want a classic look Outback. I'm so in love with the classic look Outback." Now, my minority view is that I actually much prefer the Tiger Force one. I never owned a classic look Outback, but I did have an 80s Tiger Force one. I'm based in Europe, and it was, a figure that was knocking around a lot for us over here. So I have much fonder memories of the orange shirt. I also like that really 80s hair rock tiger pattern thing going on the front. I just think it's really kitschy, really cool, bit different. I prefer the idea of introducing a splash of orange to my G.I. Joe classified shelf display rather than a splash of white. And I like the kind of rugged, cragged face sculpt thing of a guy who looks like he's legitimately been surviving on the land in the middle of the wilderness, So I possibly will end up picking up a classic look Outback because it is a good looking figure. There's no two ways about it. It is a good looking figure, but I'm going to keep my Tiger Force pre-order and maybe put that one lower on the priority list compared to some others that have caught my eye at the minute, and then kind of see how I feel when the time rolls around. It's likely that FOMO will make me pick it up anyway, but, there we go. Now, one interesting little factoid. I'm recording this some days later. I saw an article, I forget where, maybe on His Tank. I saw an article that was reporting that when Hasbro Pulse, the G.I. Joe team, popped this one up on screen, there was a massive rush, a spike in traffic to the Target website and a huge, mass cancellation of the Tiger Force version of the figure that everyone had pre-ordered, which I think is quite interesting too. Now, in terms of marketing strategy, their plan, I think, was obviously to have the Tiger Force figure out and in hand before selling as this one as well. But, worldwide, post-pandemic shipping container logistics crisis has had a hand in that going in a different direction, I suppose, but there we go. So there we are, folks. There's the classic look mainline Outback. The fifth and final preview reveal that was a digital render on the stream was this figure here. Take a look at this, folks. It's CoverGirl. And this one definitely got me excited. I was like, yes, that will be a guaranteed pre-order as far as I am concerned. Because look at it. Look, this is a tremendous looking figure. Now, G.I. Joe Classified, broadly speaking, impress me a great deal more when it comes to their female figures anyway. The articulation is a lot better. I think the sculpts and the moulding around them, the face sculpts and the hair and stuff, is just far superior to what we're seeing churned out by, Marvel Legends, for example. I've been, kind of really unimpressed in some respects with how the constant reuse of the old sculpts in Marvel Legends right now. But it's just got lots going on. It's a fascinating figure. The colour schemes are a little bit lighter, a little bit more interesting to add a bit of variety to the shelf. Unlike Falcon, who's just like a forest green, we've got these kind of different patches of colour. The finer detail. I love the jacket with the fur collar around it. Gives me hope for a General Hawk soon. The hair sculpt looks incredible. If the hair sculpt and the face sculpt is like the digital render, as I said with Falcon, then I'm going to be super impressed and really on board with this one. But the rolled up sleeves and all the texture, very dynamic looking figure, but in line with that more kind of modern contemporary classified look that they had in the earlier figures and then sort of stepped away from a little bit and now leaning back into with the shin guards and the cargo pants and stuff. Yeah, so just straight away I was like, yes, this looks great. What an awesome figure. I really do feel like I need a bit more feminine energy in my G.I. Joe Classified display anyway, so I will absolutely be pre-ordering this one. Now, I did see a bit of criticism knocking around online. I think some folks were more keen to have the blonde-haired CoverGirl, and I must admit, I associate CoverGirl much more with the long blonde hair from being a fan of the IDW comic series. However, I can't say no to this. Look at it, it's awesome. Absolutely. I mean, the fur collar alone sells me on this one, on the kind of flight jacket thing. I'm all in. And look at the belt buckles and the creases in the sleeves and the way the shirt, everything just spot on. This is definitely going to be a pre-order as far as I'm concerned. At this point in the stream, they kind of wrapped up the 5-figure wave digital render preview thing, popped that back in the drawer, and then moved on to showing us a handful of actual 3-dimensional, made out of plastic, here they are, figures demonstration versions. You can see the serial numbers stamped across their foreheads, but demonstration versions of figures that we've seen as digital renders previously in previous streams. And the first one that they lifted out from behind that counter and popped on that desk to show us and started spinning around was this guy here, Sergeant Slaughter. Now, I have to confess, when they first showed us the digital renders of Sergeant Slaughter, I was like, nah, I'm all right, thanks. The proportions, the body shape, and the dimensions just looked all a bit weird to me in the digital render. And I've got a Valaverse one, and I sort of like his combat jacket on the Valaverse one. It kind of connects to the more modern, contemporary, militaristic, futuristic twist that I'm into in the G.I. Joe classified lines. I was like, yeah, I've got one. I've got someone filling that gap, fulfilling that position in my display. But when they showed me the real one, I was like, no, total 180. I'm buying this one. I'm in. The real figure does not look as disproportionate and weirdly shaped as the digital render does. So straight away, that immediate concern that I had is gone. It's been eliminated. Showing us some of the accessories that are coming with him as well. Swappable hands with a G.I. Joe figure. That got me excited. I want more swappable hands for my G.I. Joe figures, please. But swappable hands, the hat, the glasses. I love, it's so fun, the miniature action figure version of Sergeant Slaughter that's coming with the larger action figure version of Sergeant Slaughter. I just think that's really fun. I just think it's nice tongue-in-cheek kind of bit of humour that appeals to me. I like the little nod to the fan base there. That's really awesome. And I think it's going to take some fun and interesting photos. So that's all in. And then they were kind of talking about some of the work that they were doing with the figure, like making sure that the hat fits well and the shades and stuff. And I was like, yeah, I'm really into that. And some of my criticisms of the Valaverse figure were that the hat's a bit wobbly, the shades don't quite sort of fit neatly in a way that sits right with me, and they often fall off or go loose when I'm taking photos with it. And then the marketing photos that they were showing, they're just really demonstrating some of the texture, like the texture in the vest and in his cargo pants and stuff. And I was really into that, and I thought it looked really great. And the face sculpt, when they were rotating him round, and there was a bit of a close-up on the face sculpt, other than the fact that he had the serial number stamped across his head, I thought the face sculpt looked really great. I was like, yeah, I really like that, actually. It's kind of still chinny, but not as, like, cartoon, like Popeye style chinny that the Valaverse one had. So you know it's Sergeant Slaughter, and it's selling the Sergeant Slaughter, but it didn't quite look as unreal, uncanny as maybe the one, like I say, a bit Popeye-ish on the Valaverse one. So the Sergeant Slaughter reveal absolutely did its job on the stream, because I was someone who wasn't going to pre-order that figure, wasn't going to buy it. I was just going to be happy, work with my Valaverse one, and I'll still do lots of stuff with my Valaverse one. Like I say, I like the military jacket and stuff that they've got on him. But I'm buying Sergeant Slaughter. I'm all for it now. Just it's the little things like the emblem on the front of the hat and the kind of tie wraps around the sides of the hat. And it just all, oh yeah, just spot on. Very, very happy and impressed with that. And I like the fact that he's got big Carrera shades, the big Carrera aviators, very 80s, spot on. So there you go, folks. There's Sergeant Slaughter. I am in on that one. The last actual three-dimensional in-hand figure, for realsies that we'd seen as a previous digital render that they showed us was the Snake Eyes and Timber set. And again, when they pulled it out and dropped it on the counter, I was like, yes, I'm all in. I know that's a controversial thing to say, because around and about in the community, certainly in the UK community that I hang around in Facebook groups and stuff with, there was a bit of like, do we really need another Snake Eyes? What are we on now, like our fifth and blah, blah, blah. And I get it. These people aren't wrong. They aren't wrong, but I haven't actually bought a Snake Eyes. I'm a Visor Snake Eyes guy. The Fortnite one was just a little bit too expensive and a bit too cartoony in terms of the accessories for me. And then when I saw the actual figure, I was like, nah, it's not unique enough of a sculpt from the previous versions for me. But this guy's got the visor, but I actually like that they put camo pants on him. Again, I'll reiterate, I'm really into the kind of modern, contemporary, more kind of futuristic, militaristic style aesthetic choice that they've made with G.I. Joe Classified, or a chunk of G.I. Joe Classified at least. And so that kind of fits and works for me. I like the neck scarf. Yes, I know it's a reuse of strikers and all that, but it kind of works for me. The sword, the Uzi, all that is what I want, but it's with the visor look Snake Eyes that I'm much more fond on. The Snake Eyes that resonates with me more as a UK fan from Action Force. The timber mold being the same as the grey timber, but in the white looks awesome too. They've stacked it full of extra guns and a sword and all that, all the accessories that come with it. So for someone who doesn't have a Snake Eyes yet, who's never quite taken the leap into any of the previous ones, bearing in mind I came to the party a little late as well, so I missed the earlier ones, I'm kind of like, yeah, this is actually the one for me. I think it's going to fit the display, the G.I. Joe classified display that I want for my G.I. Joe classified figures. So he's on point for me. He works. And I've already pre-ordered it, basically. I've already put my deposit down with a specialist store over here that I use. So I'm in, and I know that a lot of people who've already got Snake Eyes, I could absolutely understand why you'd be like, nah, don't want this one. It's not fully leaning into the classic retro look. I want a whole black-suited ninja dude. I don't really want these military pants and all that, and I don't need another Snake Eyes anyway. Get all that? Yeah, totally. And it makes sense to me, those arguments. But I think on the flip side of that, remember that there's folks like me out there who came to the party late, haven't got a Snake Eyes, who are looking for the visored version, but didn't want to fork out the 50 quid for the Fortnite version. This is the one for us. And like I say, I like the contemporary twist on it. The G.I. Joe, what was it? The G.I. Joe Retaliation version of him. It works for me. I'm on board with this one, and I've already pre-ordered it. So there we go. There's Snake Eyes, folks. And there we go, folks. That's everything that I plucked out of the stream in relation to G.I. Joe Classified. If you're a broader G.I. Joe fan, then there was some O-ring stuff, and there was some stuff about the Transformers G.I. Joe crossover with the Bumblebee Jeep thing that they were showing off. That's not my bag. That's not my thing. I'm a 6-inch guy. So this video's just been about the G.I. Joe Classified. That is the line that I am all in on right now. So, but I'm sure you can go away and take a look at the stream for yourself if you want to know more about that. But there's some of my thoughts on what they revealed today. Very, very happy to see things starting to take shape. Real figures on the streams rather than digital renders with the Sergeant Slaughter and the Snake Eyes. Starting to hear that shipping is happening. Things are moving forward. And as I say, I've had an email telling me that that's the case today for one of my pre-orders. So hopefully release dates are going to hold true from here on in. Fingers crossed they don't bombard me with a sudden like, we're pulling all these release dates forward, and I can't afford to to top up beyond the deposits that I've laid down. We'll see what happens with that. But I'd like to invite you, if you've enjoyed what I've done here today, to subscribe to my channel. Come and join me. There will be more G.I. Joe Classified coverage and figure reviews coming down the pipeline. But maybe you're just like me. You're an enormous adult nerd child who takes an interest in a range of collectibles and worships at the broad church of nerddom, and if so, you might enjoy the stuff that I do about comic books, the stuff that I do about trading card collecting, the stuff that I do in my statue collecting. As I say, I fill my house with all sorts of nostalgic plastic crap, and I like to make videos out of it, and maybe you would enjoy watching them too. So please do take the time to give me a like. Please do take the time to subscribe. I'd like to come and invite you to join me in my endeavours here at this little channel. But with that all said, I've been Chris from MoDXtra Games and Collectibles, and hopefully I'll see you around here sometime soon. Thanks for watching.